Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the damn sofa. That's the damn sofa, and that's my damn sassy sidekick, Mr. Roscoe. My damn name's Paul. Now, today we are going to be going deeper into the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. I'm just joking, although it is kind of a nightmare. My God almighty. Before we jump into it, I do want to give a shout out to everybody who makes the Sofa Squad and this channel possible. It would not be here without you. I appreciate it. Roscoe appreciates it. And so does the damn sofa. So what we're going to do today is this. So this is, I think, part 2 at this point, and we're focusing on Amber's testimony, some of it. Y'all, again, it's hard to pick what parts to go over, and so this is going to be more of a continuation of just like a deep dive of breaking down chunks of her testimony and talking about it. I think what I'll do is maybe on my podcast, I'll do more like condensed small snippets of stuff that I'm watching, because I mean it's all a you-know-what show, right? But literally when I go through, I'm like, where do you start? And so one place that I start is y'all will be like, hey, look at this part or whatever. And again, this is kind of one of those. So we're just going to be looking at snippets of that, and I'm going to be making commentary on it, so on and so forth. The first snippets we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at Amber's habit of her taking pictures of Johnny. What I thought was so telling about this clip we were about to watch is when she's being asked, and again, this is her attorney, so these are like, you know, softball questions, right? And when she's asked, like, why do you like taking these pictures, and how she has to fumble through this. So let's go ahead, let's roll the damn tape, as they used to say in my day.
13. Okay, and why did you take this picture? Because at the time, I was already sensitive. I'd been in a relationship with Johnny for over a year, you know, coming up on 2 years, and I had already noticed that there was this pattern of behavior changes with him. Okay,
one thing that we will notice with this, the most fumbled damn answers. Oh my God. She does not give you an answer. Now this, of course, is a very typical thing of when somebody's lying or conjuring up stuff or whatever. But again, why did you take the pictures? Because this is, I mean, y'all, the photographic evidence this woman collected. Listen, the convenient photographic evidence that she has collected along the way, right? All of it always painting him in this bad light. So let's continue.
That would make my life significantly more complicated or peaceful, difficult, or wonderful, depending on what the cycle, what he was using. And I only could tell what he was using because I would have to look for clues, and, you know,
it's giving two things. It's giving finding Waldo. Remember those picture books? We'd have to find Waldo. Because at this point, I'm just like, is this where we're going with this, right? We had to take the pictures to go back and look for clues. Like, where are we going with this? It's also giving, I was in the group project, but early on, I pissed off the entire group. And instead of like snitching on me to the teacher, they just excluded me from everything. And now I'm giving my presentation part to the class.
He would pass out and, you know, get sick and lose control of himself. And then people would pick him up and clean him up and fix it. And he wouldn't either remember, or he would deny it, or he would accuse me of saying that this had happened when it didn't. And there was no one to back me up. You know, there was just his employees and everyone who had been taking care of him, versus my word. And so I started to take pictures to say, look, this is happening.
Now, here's the thing. And, you know, I think another video I'm going to do, it's not going to be in this one because I'm focusing on these clips of her. But if you remember back to, I mean, just pick any of his employees, right? But remember the security guard of his? Pardon me, that was documenting one of the many arguments they got into, and he was talking about, I think it was the Red Bull can that got thrown, and he had to basically get it between them, and it was the night that he had to walk down the street to get the nurse to bring her back to Penthouse 5, and all this drama, and So one of the things that in there he's saying, the security guard, is he's saying, You know what? Yeah, Johnny was cussing at Amber too. Like he told a believable story, right? Because he was like, no, Johnny's not throwing stuff. He's not getting physical. But yeah, they're arguing, and yeah, he called her a C word, and she called him one too, and this, that, and the other, or whatever. That's believable, right? Amber's version of things, just like what we saw here, everything paints her to be this victim. Notice what she does right here. This whole thing of no one believed me, none of his employees, none of these people. You know, she was horrendous to his employees, right? You know, the second that she was like, I'm the girlfriend, and even worse when she was the wife, treated them like dirt, okay? Another thing to also remember, this is another reason why I have to go back and do another video of that with the security guard stuff. Anyways, but during the security guard stuff where he was sitting there talking, and he was like, you know what, when they would get in these arguments, and you know, they would go on, and yada yada yada, and she would prevent him from leaving. This all coincides with the testimony that we heard coming from Johnny with those recorded, with the conversations between him and Amber, where he was like, I go to the bathroom, knock knock knock. That, remember that? So this is where all the dots connect. But when you sit here and listen to her stories, where you're just like, where is she coming up with this? Like, if it paints her to be a victim, there's that. The only dots that connect with her all lead up to connecting her to these diagnoses from the forensic psychologist.
This is, you know, I understood enough about addiction to know that you have to hit rock bottom. Like, you have to have some consequence for your action or for your behavior if you ever change to get better. And
okay, I'm going to translate what she's trying to say here for everybody, in case y'all didn't get it, but I know the Sofa Squad, y'all probably got it. She is saying, in order to hit rock bottom, you have to, well, in order to change, you have to hit rock bottom. She didn't see it happening for Johnny, so she was going to make it happen for him. And by documenting all this, she was going to force it to happen. She was set out to destroy Johnny Depp, okay? This, if you looked up Bitter Damn Queen, well, first of all, you might see my damn picture. I'm just joking, but you were definitely going to see Amber's damn picture in there. I mean, for real, okay? She was out for damn blood. Okay, and it's just, you can read these little microaggressions, whatever you want to call it. She lets these little truths slip out. Again, this is just my opinion, y'all. I'm not a doctor or anything like that if you're new to the channel. These are just my opinions here from the damn sofa. But this statement was just so big to me when I was like, oh my God. Like, she was set out to destroy this man and prove a damn point at all cost.
It seemed to me like that was not happening. So I noticed a behavior pattern change, and he started to, instead of, you know, fits of rage, he started to pass out a lot and fall asleep and kind of fall asleep mid-conversation. And it was just a pattern change. So I started to pick up on the clues so I could figure out what I was dealing with.
Yeah. Now, she'll get into this in a little bit, but my next thing is this. Leave. I mean, is leaving not an option? Well, not when you have a meal ticket like Johnny Depp for her, right? And this is what the unspoken thing is all the time. Now, she's already cashed in on this meal ticket, right? I mean, she's already cashed in big time. So, and she knew that. She's not stupid. And she'll talk about this, and it's such a flimsy excuse that she gives. But, I mean, the sad thing is, I mean, again, this probably goes on every day, not just in Hollywood, but in the normal world. Vice versa. This day and age, this doesn't matter. Man, woman, whatever. People using one another as a means to an end, right? And this is exactly what she has done with him. So she was going to put up with whatever, but she was also conniving along the way by photographing this, gathering evidence, doing all this kind of stuff, whether it was for a tell-all book or this right here. Because one thing that keeps going through my mind is viral is like literally every damn second of this trial seems to go. I'm just like, I mean, in this day and age where you can get famous for passing gas on TikTok for 30 seconds and build a career off that, this is a gold mine. This is a gold mine. This is a career for someone like her, right? Johnny Depp, who's essentially already had a career, and I'm not trying to say he's done or whatever, but it's like, if he never made another movie, he's already left his mark in Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? Someone like Amber, who's over here just trying to get like the scraps off the table, you know, she'll be lucky to be, you know, if WeTV calls her up talking about, look, we've got this, you know, reality show, that's a scrap that she should be willing to entertain at this point, right? So anyways, let's keep going. Let's take another look at some more of her photographic, you know, body of work here.
And Ms. Heard, and what is depicted in this picture? Please tell the jury.
Johnny passed out on the island where we were vacationing. He had a bit of a stint of sobriety right before this, and it started to change with his friend Paul Bettany.
She ain't leaving no stone unturned. She's throwing everyone under the damn bus here. Amber is like this. She's like, well, on the island also, there was this dude, I don't remember his name, but we can look it up. It was 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon on this date. He was jaywalking, right his ass up too. I mean, she doesn't care. She is throwing everybody under the bus.
Do you recognize this picture?
Yes, that was taken.
Before you go further, did you take this picture?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, Amber, will you please tell the jury why you took this and when you took this?
This was after a several-day bender, you know, a binge of Johnny's. The 22nd of March, which we talked about yesterday, about he tried to burn a painting. It was accusing me of having affairs with a musician, my ex-partner, and he was on these, like, you know, a drug binge where I saw him no eating, little to no sleep, and he would just use cocaine and drink all day long. Okay. And that would go for a period of time, and then a major blowout, and then he'd get sick and pass out, and then feel really awful, and often, including this time, would start a period of sobriety after that.
And yet she's here to photograph it, to throw it in his face all the time under the guise of caring about him. That's the part that just really gets to me. And again, and I've said this in the other videos about this and whatever, I love that he does not look at her during any of this for the most part. And I believe if I remember correctly, that's something that is like a trigger for her or something like that. And again, I think not even acknowledging her is to his best advantage, because a lot of this behavior is so attention seeking. And one thing, if you'll notice, like when the camera's on her a lot, we'll get into some moments, maybe in this video or the next one or the previous ones, but if you're watching, just pay attention, like when it comes up again, when it restarts. Because as of right now, the trial has been paused this week when I'm recording this. Like during certain moments where she's talking about the past, like, you know, with like nice moments, I feel like she looks over at him almost as if to say, Johnny, if you just ask for me back right now, I'll run to your arms, baby. And I'm just like, oh my God, this one is really twisted. I mean, this one is just eaten up with whatever the hell's wrong with her.
Now I'm going to take you to mid-July 2013, the Tokyo press tour for Lone Ranger.
Sure. He was promoting Lone Ranger, and I had just met his kids. He was drinking at the restaurant, and the kids were kind of, you know, noticing, but not really sure what to make of it.
Objection calls for speculation and hearsay.
She didn't say what they said.
I'll sustain us to the last part of the answer.
Okay, please continue, but don't say what they said. Okay, the kids said.
Anyway, Johnny became upset with me for judging him.
So I just want to break real quick to say a couple of things. First of all, they literally assault her with objections. I mean, non-stop, like boom, 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 boom. And her attorney is constantly just baffled. Well, it's not. What? Like, she'll sit here and want to just like have a conversation with the judge. I haven't like done an in-depth thing of like who this attorney is or whatnot, you know, and obviously I have a little bit of a bias because I just don't like this particular attorney's presentation, the way she presents things. I think that she tries to be oh, I got you, and the moments don't match up to it. I am all for everyone having a criminal defense attorney. I am all for a good criminal defense attorney putting something on and representing their client to the best, even if I don't agree with it, right? It is what it is. I do not feel that this is... I'm shocked Amber hasn't fired her, to be quite honest. I mean, she got rid of the publicity team, right? I'm shocked she hasn't gotten rid of her because, I mean, it's just... it's like she's kind of laughable in a sense, right? Some of the stuff is, you know, like, okay, cool, but, you know, anyways. So there's that. Secondly, one thing I just keep thinking about all this and listening to this lifestyle, and one thing that I think fascinates us, at least me, I can speak to, about these kind of celebrity trials and stuff like this, and I usually don't, I mean, y'all know here at the Sofa Squad, this is the most in-depth we've gone really on a celebrity case. It interests me just because, you know, I grew up watching Johnny Depp, so on and so forth, and then this has become a train wreck. But aside from that, watching this and seeing the bubble that they live in, they meaning celebrities, and so watching this and hearing like, oh, we went to Tokyo for this, and side note, I never saw Lone Star. I need a Lone Ranger. I'm talking about the restaurant. Can you tell? Great. I'm talking about the damn Lone Ranger. I never saw that. I need to see it now because I would be interested. If you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments. But this bubble that they live in, and I just sit here and I get a very lonely vibe off of it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was younger, being like a famous actor to me would be like the coolest thing ever, right? That was like so cool, and to be an actor and play these roles and, you know, do like what you're hearing, travel in the world. Thank God, right? I mean, just you hear these stories, I'm like, what a lonely world. And especially when you hear them like this, where I'm like, here's somebody who is just a worldwide movie star, and he's traveling the world with his kids, and then this horrible monster who is just making his life utterly miserable, on top of whatever things he has going on that are causing him to escape in these substances, right? She obviously wasn't helping. So there's that. I just wanted to say that. Let's continue.
He was, you know, it was like I couldn't win if I didn't do anything, if I didn't say anything to him about the drinking, if I didn't acknowledge it. It got worse. If I did acknowledge it, it was my fault and I was nagging. And I get it, you know, I wouldn't like to be told what to do either. So, but it made him really angry, and the kids were on this press tour, and I was just concerned about them. I was concerned about them hearing us. Johnny screamed at me in the hotel room, and all I could think were the kids were in an adjoining room.
Okay, now I said this in the previous video I did, and I'll say it again here. She tries to put on this whole facade of, I loved his kids. They were so wonderful. And I'm just like, no, she strikes me as the type that gets jealous of the children. I do not think that her concern was, oh my God, I'm looking out for the children. Do the children hear us? She's like one of those people that hides behind the children, right? It's such an easy thing for people to hide behind. Oh, for God's sakes, be concerned about the children, right? It's like, I mean, yes, and obviously that's a thing, right? I wouldn't want them hearing that, but for someone like Amber, that's not what she's concerned about, right? At all, I can assure you of that. Let's keep going.
I didn't want them to think poorly of me.
And therein lies the truth of the matter, and that's really anything that's going to be a threat to her image, anything of that nature, that is going to be her main concern, right? And so whether it's the kids, anybody, that's going to always be what she's mostly concerned about. That's what absolute nutso people like her do.
He eventually passed out.
Do you recall what names he called you? Do you recall what he said?
I heard at this time nagging bitch all the time. Called me a cunt. He even said that he made a mistake with me, and that he didn't want to, that when we touched back down, he'd get rid of me and I'd go back to, he said some disgusting things to me. I don't know if I need to repeat it.
You know who she reminds me of when she's saying those things? Do you remember if you saw the Serial Mom during the part where, I'm not going to say the words, but if you watch, then you'll know, where she's the one who's making the prank phone call where she goes, Willow. And she's the one doing that, and then she acts all absurd over it, like, I would never say that. That's what she reminds me of, because we already know from the other evidence that she said even worse, just as worse things to him, right? She's like, oh, he told me that he would get rid of me, and I have no doubt that Johnny said some of this stuff to her, right? But the fact that she acts like, it's one of these people who they go and light a fire, and then they act shocked when the building burns down, and that's just what disgusts me, because that's what these people do. That's what they thrive off of. That's how they get their life force, if you will, right? Off of destroying other people and getting that energy from that and going on about their lives.
Okay, let's go. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 1090? You indicated, I think, that he passed out at the end of that. Did you take this picture?
I did.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 1090.
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
1090 in evidence. You can publish.
Thank you.
So let's look at the next clip. Now, she's still recovering from the traumatic idea of having to leave the luxuries of Johnny Depp. But look at the mood change in her face where they go to the next pictures that she's taken. It's like immediate. Like all this, like, one thing that just baffles me with her is that she doesn't clue into this, especially, I'm sure she goes home every night and is reading social media and combing through this and has assistants doing this and all this kind of stuff, is the fact that she doesn't try and reel this in, because her mood swings are so obvious even on the stand.
And where was Mr. Depp when you took this picture?
He was passed out with his head in a table in the hotel room, in our hotel room, not the kids' hotel room, in Tokyo, on that press tour.
All right. Now I'm going to take you to August 2013. What, if any, discussions did you start having with Mr. Depp about moving in with him?
Well...
Okay, first of all, I wish they would show Johnny's face more when they show these pictures. I just feel like he's over there laughing at some of these. Like, it's like his head's in the damn dresser drawer. You know what I mean? I just feel like he's over there chuckling to a certain degree, right? Because you just see what he's going through with her, and you have to be like, dude, I would be passed out too, right? But again, notice that mood swing, all that stuff. And again, just the amount of pictures that she's taking. She was making a damn tell-all book as far as I'm concerned. Now, when they get to this part, when I was watching this and they get to the part of, here's the talks about moving in. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, my mouth when it hit the damn ground, I'm like, you're telling me you've gone through all this with this guy. Okay, and we're just listening to her side. All this trauma, and you ain't even living with him yet? No, girl. No, no, absolutely not. Now, I understand that things are a little bit different. They're these Hollywood people. They're never really at home. Yada, yada, yada. Absolutely not, though. Absolutely not.
After this, I was getting close to his kids, and he had a stint of sobriety shortly after that. And it felt really good again. And shortly after that, he started suggesting that I...
Again, the kids. Absolutely, she uses these children as a manipulative device. I started loving the children, and I'm just like, oh my God. He had a stint of sobriety, and things were getting good again. You would think they had been together for 50 years. I mean, the way she talks, and I'm just like, that's why, another reason why I'm just like, girl, no, this is absurd.
Let him rent my apartment for the vultures. That's what he called the press.
Little did he know the biggest leading pack of the vultures was getting ready to move in with him.
And he said now that we were like a known couple, now that it was out in the press, that my apartment wasn't like safe effectively for me. And I had a modest apartment in Los Angeles. And so he started
Okay, now there is this part of me when I hear stuff like this that has that Pretty Woman vibe to it, where you're just like, imagine dating someone and like this kind of thing where they're like, well, look, baby, now that we're together, it's too dangerous for you to live in that modest apartment in Los Angeles. I'm going to have to rent it for you for your protection, and you're going to have to move into Penthouse 5. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I can see that getting lost in that, right? But she tries to play it off so poorly, of course. And again, poor John, he had no, I mean, I guess he didn't have any idea. I mean, I would like to think not, because again, I do have to question for Johnny's side. I'm like, dude, why did you keep her around this long? Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was going on that made you even want to try and make this work? Because the signs of crazy on her side, to me, were so obvious. And the stuff that she was coming up with so early on, again, that she's trying to claim, oh, he did this and he did that. Well, then why would you stay with him? If that was going on, why would you stay with him, aside from the fact that he's Johnny Depp, with Johnny Depp's bank account and Johnny Depp's name?
Saying I needed to have security on me, or we'd rent out the neighboring houses. Because of the vultures, and it was a conversation, and then that conversation evolved into I should move in with him.
Again, imagine just living that way, being able to sit here and be like, okay, well, I'm going to rent out all the houses on the street and on each side of your place to protect your house, and da-da-da. And then also, imagine having to live that way. This is one of the things that I find interesting about getting this glimpse into celebrity life, where I'm like, this sounds horrible. This sounds absolutely miserable, right? Absolutely miserable. Like, wherever you travel, you're living in this like weird bubble of just your like zone of people. Like, you're just trapped. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like a really sad existence that they're kind of stuck in. I don't know. I mean, I can see how so many of them seem to go like bonkers.
You know, always wanted me to go with his security guards, wanted me to have his credit card. Obviously, I wouldn't accept that, but...
You know, she burned that card up on day damn what? Okay. I'm just like, there ain't no... She's going to try and paint herself out to be like, I certainly wouldn't accept his credit card. I continue to keep my prepaid cricket card that I got from Walgreens or CVS. I'm just like, there is a no way. She paints herself out to be Miss Goldilocks here. She probably was more like, no, I'll just take cash, right? So this again is what I'm talking about, where everything she does, she paints herself out to be like this golden child, right? Which makes the story unbelievable.
The conversation about moving in became, you know, hard to resist, because I was increasingly becoming a part of his life, and also loving his family, and feeling like, you know, more stability would mean more stability with him and his struggles with drug and alcohol use. And I thought,
this one right here, again, I was trying to first of all, she's trying to make it look like she was resisting the whole thing to move in. She strikes me as this type person who would kind of be manipulative, like, I don't want to move in. You know, I've been talking to so-and-so and I just don't know it's time yet. Like that type person, to kind of like manipulate the situation to make him be more like, well, I want you to move in, if that makes sense. So there's that. But then under the guise of, well, I was beginning to love his family more. Again, the children, using them as a manipulative tool. If she wasn't like, none of this had ever happened, 100% she would have like a family YouTube channel, right? And she would have already been canceled with it, right? Already been exposed and canceled with it.
I would minimize some of the jealousy and insecurity that he had. It was hard for me to justify working. Every audition, every meeting, every script I got was
She 100% would have loved this attention, and probably still does, whoever she's with, and she would have accentuated this, in my opinion, right? She probably thrived on this attention and did any little thing she could to trigger him for this. Now, another thing I think is interesting is how she talks about every script that came my way, and I'm just like, girl, I mean, I guess Netflix does churn out a lot of crappy material, right? Because I'm just like, I'm not seeing it, right? I mean, and whoever is vetting her stuff, I mean, let's be honest, you would think if you had landed Johnny Depp as your dude, like, you would have gotten some better roles out of it. I mean, let's just call a spade, right? And I'm not trying to sound bad, but I'm just like, I guess it does go to show, like, I mean, it's not necessarily who you're sleeping with, right? I mean, I'm just kind of in shock. Now, she has been in some kind of big name stuff, right? But, I mean, nothing came from it. And certainly isn't now. I mean, if there is a blacklist, trust me, she has earned her name in the top 5 of it.
A negotiation or a fight, I had to justify it like as if I was saying, hey, let's have an open relationship. It was, and I thought that would be minimized if I could make him feel more secure. But, if we live together, certainly there would be more security, right? And that was my reasoning.
Now, again, I could see her also, and again, this is just my opinion, y'all. This is just for fun. This is for entertainment. This is why I'm just kind of going through it this way. But, like, I could see her being the type that, like, you know what it reminds me of? Remember Pamela Anderson? And I'm not shaming her in this because I think I love Pamela Anderson. Remember in her heyday how she did, like, a bunch of those B-grade movies that were, like, soft core, you know what? I think Barbed Wire was the name of one of them, whatever. And it was like just like soft core, you know what? Okay. I could see Amber like intentionally seeking out roles like this and being like, Johnny, what do you think of this? Just to, if this really did trigger some jealousy streak in him or whatever, just to kind of like mess with him. You know what I'm saying? To kind of just push his buttons or whatever. So let's keep seeing what she has to say.
So you talked about still reading scripts and things. What, if anything, did you do differently in terms of pursuing your acting career?
Yeah, I'm real curious over this, okay? Because again, this is another one of those things that in Hollywood that you have to look at with these dynamics of, even when the couples aren't this toxic, right? This happens all the time where one person's like super famous, one person's not so much, or one person's not in the business, and one person is. Maybe this is why it makes more sense. Look at someone like, and I mean, granted, I'm going to use Dolly Parton as an example. She's not like just Dolly Parton is more like just an all-around entertainer, but look at how her husband's like completely not in the business, and maybe that's for the better. Because imagine when you see people like this, who one person is like mega famous in their field, and the other person's like sitting here hoping to do a straight to YouTube release. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it ain't working. So let's hear what, she did do differently to help minimize the jealousy of Johnny.
Well, I've always been
Amen. If you could sum up her damn testimony and everything that came out of her mouth, it's that right there. She made a bunch of damn faces and said a whole bunch of damn nothing.
been really independent, and I've never imagined not working. I've worked from the earliest time I can imagine. I come from, parents who worked until they literally couldn't anymore. I never imagined myself having to explain my job or justify my job, but I did, and I am independent, and I see myself as independent and strong-willed, and I had to bargain. Every time I'd get a script, it would be, I thought you weren't taking another job. I'd always say, are you kidding me? That's crazy. I have to work. I support my family. When I moved out to LA, I'd get a check for, a gig, $600 or something. I'd save half for me, send half to my family.
Now, a part of me really wants to believe this coming from her, right? Because I get what she's saying, right? It's like, there are lots of people who would be like, whatever, like, we'll just take the easy way out. We just want to live off Johnny's money, whatever. And maybe that's what she wanted to do. We don't know. But how boring would that be, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it would be fun for a minute, right? I get it. But then to be like, that's not fun. Like, there's nothing in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would have to have your own career. So I would very much want to believe this, but then the outcome of what ended up happening kind of shows differently. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm just like, Because what it almost looks like to me is her career never really went anywhere. Like her career kind of turned into drama with Johnny. Like that was like, this is now her career, right? This is like her biggest claim. Because there's a lot of people, myself included, that, I mean, again, when this happened, I was like, okay, wait, what? Even all the way to yesterday, I went, was like, okay, Amber Heard, what movies? And re-looking up, and then actually having to go back to said movie and being like, wait, who was she in that? Who was she? Was she, you know, that kind of a thing? That's the kind of roles we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So,
You know, I kept having to justify taking work by saying, I'm supporting my parents, you know, I'm supporting my sister, I'm supporting my family, I have to work.
again, whether this is true or not, she's going to, of course, use it as a manipulative tactic to gain sympathy and points with the jury.
And he would say, you don't have to work, kid. Let me take care of you. My woman doesn't have to work. And that sounds really sweet and really romantic in some way, but it became a real fight. You know, every time.
You know, kid, yeah, my woman doesn't have to work. Maybe this is true. You know, I mean, it doesn't sound interesting to me, right? And I don't know. I don't know. You know, I think only evidence will show that to be true or not. I think the massive payout that she got speaks to the contrary. I think that the continued exploitation of him from her speaks to the contrary. I do believe that the amount of work she put in getting photographic evidence speaks to the contrary. So there's that. She might have wanted to try and conjure up some kind of career out of the whole situation. I have a feeling that somebody getting with Johnny in the realm of, you know, I've arrived, it's Hollywood, it's this, you know, I wanting to do what Johnny did, let me, you know, scratch and claw my way up. It would almost be looked upon like, wow, I can take his scraps, you know, and become a household name, right? And maybe when that didn't start working out, she was like, well, damn, let me start taking some pictures of him, you know, passed out in the damn Tokyo.
I got a script. It was what kind of, you know, how I was dressing, what kind of behavior I'd have, how did I have a sex scene? And then I started saying, no, I won't take the sex scenes, or, you know, I'll take the part where I don't play, you know, that kind of character. Or then I started minimizing the kinds of kissing scenes that I had. And eventually I had to change the wardrobe that I could have in the movie. I couldn't.
This is all sounding extremely intense, right? I'm very curious to dive a little bit deeper to see if there's evidence of him being this way with other women. I mean, this is like very intense, you know, and again, maybe this is the case where he's this possessive and whatnot. Again, I have no doubt that she's probably getting these tawdry, cheesy scripts. I mean, my God, I can only imagine that some of the stuff that people are trying to produce and put out there, right? And especially at her level, which is like a very low level, you know, she ain't the A-list celebrity, right? So I can only imagine the kind of stuff that was being pumped out. And then again, her just sitting here, I'm like, she was trying to pivot it. Like the only thing she could go out for was a damn Disney movie, you know, and that's maybe at this point, right? Maybe.
Couldn't have a sex scene, but that all, you know, it didn't happen all at once, of course. It was little thing after little thing after little thing. And eventually I found myself pushing as many scripts off my desk as I could.
And again, she talks like she had 100 scripts on her desk. I'm like, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that.
So let me take you back. Did you, as a result of your discussions with Mr. Depp about moving in, did there come a time that you did move in with him?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, that day she was like, all right, we finally made it. We're moving into Penthouse 5.
So when did you move into the penthouses?
Shortly after he moved Rocky, my best friend, into the penthouse. So she was in one of these empty-ish apartments, and somewhere around that time, I think it took me some time, actually, but after that, I eventually agreed to move in with him and give up my place, although that made me pretty nervous. to be honest. But
So he already had her best friend living in penthouse 5. Then notice the slip of words here. I agreed to move in with him. So she is, again, saying that it was him forcing her to move in. She didn't want to. It made her nervous, but she did it. You know what I'm saying? She gave up her little apartment. She moved into probably the, multi-million-dollar penthouses. Big enough probably they each have their own one, don't have to see each other. That's the other thing with these mega wealthy people that just blows my mind, is I'm just like, you have all these homes, like in the same town, right? I mean, she describes all the houses at the other place. It's like 5 houses in a cul-de-sac. And I'm like, why can't y'all just each stay in one house and be done with it? I mean, and just meet up for tea and coffee and hookups and just call it a night, right? I mean, you don't have to be around each other that much. If it's that bad off, I mean, number one, don't be around each other. But number two, separate. Like, we don't have to be up each other's asses. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to line this up here because this is good. This is becoming a long video. And the next stuff we're going to get into, which we're going to save for the next video, is some of the testimony about the engagement, the proposal, the little ceremony and that stuff, because that, I mean, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. So if you're still here, thank you for being here. Drop a sofa down in the damn comment section. Let me know you're still here and that you're buckled in. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Again, thank you to all of you that make the Sofa Squad possible. I would not be here without you. So stay tuned for part 3. Don't forget to check out my other channel where I do, shorter videos, that kind of a thing, go live sometimes, so on and so forth. So that's it. Thank you for being here. Stay tuned for part 3. And until we meet back at the damn sofa with the damn Roscoe and my damn name's Paul, I'll see you soon.